Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. And today's is a fun one. I recently was asked by a viewer what my least favorite bait to use is. And there's a couple of ways to go with this question, but my response to that person was it's an easy one for me. It's a jerkbait. As much as I love to fish jerkbaits because they are great fish catching tools, I think jerkbaits suck for a lot of other reasons. So I want to share with you guys today why I think jerkbaits suck and why they're a pain to have in the boat, but I'm willing to put up with it because they catch fish. So, without ado, here are the 5 reasons why jerkbaits suck. And maybe you guys agree, maybe you disagree. Tell me in the comment section if you think I'm crazy, but these are the 5 reasons why I cannot stand using jerkbaits. The first is because I don't know of any other bait that breaks as easy as jerkbaits. And regardless of brand, guys, I have broken more jerkbaits than any other bait category. And honestly, it's probably 10 times as many jerkbaits versus any other baits. I break the lips off of them, I break the sides off of them. I've had fish literally break jerkbaits in half. I got to tell you that, like, if I'm fishing around bridge pilings or riprap, chances are I'm going to break a jerkbait. Like, I will hit the rocks or the riprap or the bridge pilings and I will break one of my jerkbaits. And I got to tell you, if you didn't take advantage of this little tip, you missed out because you can't do it anymore. But, in the old days, so probably I'm going to say up till 3 or 4 years ago, Megabass actually would take back their broken jerkbaits. It was one of the reasons why I really liked using Vision 110s. And it was because you could go on the Megabass website and print out like a field test form that you could fill out, send your broken bait back, and then they would replace that with a new bait. It was a really nice program that they had. They don't do it anymore, but I was probably sending back 5 jerkbaits a year to Megabass because I was breaking them. And again, this isn't a Megabass issue. This is across the board. When you start talking about a long, slender profile, these are easy to break. The bills are thin, the bodies are thin, there's a lot of hollow chambers, and to the point where I have literally had pike and muskie crack them in half to the point where they didn't break completely apart, but they were cracked after fighting a fish back to the boat, which then meant the bait got water in it and they would sink. So the fact is, jerkbaits, in my opinion, break more than any other hard bait on the market. So that's the first reason why I really don't like jerkbaits as a category. The second one has to do with the fact that anytime you've got a jerkbait tied to a rod, if you have multiple rods in the boat, this thing is going to grab all of the other rods on the deck almost every time you put it down. I don't care how careful you are. If you precisely stow your jerkbait on the back of the rod using your hook keeper, it still is going to grab the other rods. So when you put it down, go to pick it back up, it gets caught on all the other rods that are on your deck. So it drives me nuts from that standpoint. The third reason is very similar to that. Not only do I feel like they're always catching the other rods that are laying on the deck of my boat, I feel like they are always in my clothing. Whether I'm using, heavy rain gear, they're getting in it. A lot of times I throw jerkbaits when I've got cold weather gear on, so I have maybe gloves or cut off like mittens on. They're always getting caught in the clothing. But it's not just the clothing. I have had jerkbaits in me, buried past the barb in my skin, more than any other bait category out there. So I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that you're talking about more treble hooks or it's the long, slender profile. The issue is I end up getting them in my clothing and in my skin more than any other bait. I actually had a jerkbait, an old Rapala Husky jerk. The first time I ever buried a bait in me, I buried 5 of the 9 treble hooks in my skin on one cast. I literally went back, had too much line hanging out of my rod. I was probably 16 years old. Went back, caught the back of my back, went to cast and buried 5 of the 9 treble hooks in me. At that point, I think my dad had a much harder time getting them out than I did dealing with it. But the fact is, I've probably had jerkbaits buried in my skin, I'm going to say 4 or 5 times, way more than any other bait out there. So, from that standpoint, I have a love hate relationship with them because it just seems like their laser sharp little hooks are always getting caught in me. The next reason has to do with how they run. I feel like no matter how much we want to think our jerkbaits are running deep, they're never running quite deep enough. Meaning, you get the boxes of a jerkbait and the jerkbait says it runs 4 to 6 feet. They generally run like 3 to 4 feet. Maybe it says 6 to 8 feet. You might get to 6 feet on a every cast basis. But it is always one of those baits, especially now with the advancement of forward-facing sonar, where I feel like it's never running quite deep enough. I always want my jerk baits to go like an extra 2 feet deep, and it just are not getting there. And I don't care, again, this is not anything to do with any specific brand. This is simply jerk baits continue to drive me nuts. The last reason why they drive me nuts has to do with just the way you have to work one. As I get older, I continue to experience more symptoms of like tendonitis and issues like that. And a jerkbait is one of those baits that if you throw it all day long, especially in the spring, after you've maybe had a few months off from fishing, you get out there and you're like, well, it's cold out, I'm going to throw a jerkbait, and you do it all day long. It is one of the few baits out there that actually makes me feel sore at the end of the day. So from that standpoint as well, jerkbaits are one that can drive me nuts. So when you ask me what is my least favorite bait, a jerkbait, even though it's a great fish catching tool that I use all the time, is one of my least favorite baits to fish with. Now, maybe is it my least favorite bait from a productivity standpoint? Absolutely not. Jerkbaits are great fish catching tools, but when you throw them all day long, I almost guarantee you that by the end of the day, there is at least one or two things that will have agitated you about that jerkbait throughout the day. Whether it got caught in your other rods, whether it got caught in your rain gear, maybe you are feeling sore at the end of the day. The point is, jerkbaits can drive you nuts. So those are the 5 reasons why I think jerkbaits suck. Let me know, guys, what is your least favorite bait to fish with, regardless of productivity? Just a bait that you actually do not like fishing with. So let me know, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. This was a little bit different, a little bit fun. So if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.